Let's be real. We're all kind of drowning in data, right? Spreadsheets, reports, databases, it's just everywhere. So how do the smartest companies on the planet cut through all that noise? Well, today, we're going to dive into the art of turning that digital chaos into crystal clear clarity and see how raw numbers get transformed into the engine for smart, fast decisions.
You know, it all starts with a pretty basic problem. Computers, they can crunch endless amounts of data, but our brains, not so much. When we're faced with raw information, it looks exactly like this, a tangled, incomprehensible mess. That's not insight, it's just noise.
I mean, just imagine this for a second. You walk into your CFO's office, and you hand them a spreadsheet with 50,000 rows of daily transportation costs. You think they can spot a seasonal trend in there, or find one single costly error? No way. It's impossible.
And that, right there, is the central challenge for pretty much any modern business. In this massive ocean of information, how in the world do we find the one signal that actually matters? How do you spot that single needle in a gigantic haystack?
Well, the solution is all about data visualization. The idea is actually really simple, but it's incredibly powerful. We translate all that complex math into the language our brains were literally built for: quick, intuitive, visual perception.
But here's the most important rule of the game. This isn't about making pretty pictures. An effective chart is a serious analytical tool. Professionals follow one key principle, and that's to minimize visual noise. The focus has to be, always, on clarity over decoration.
And that means we're throwing out things like 3D effects, fancy gradients, and all those artistic shadows. Why? Because they actually distort the data. Instead, the goal is this clean, almost sterile design, where color is used very strategically and only to highlight what's truly important.
Okay, check this out, because it's a perfect example of how our eyes can be tricked. This is a 3D donut chart, and every single slice represents an identical 25%. But, be honest, doesn't that slice in the front just look bigger, more significant? That right there is visual distortion in action.
And bam! Here's the exact same data, but this time in a simple, clean 2D bar chart. Now the story is instantly clear and totally accurate. There's zero ambiguity. This is what good data visualization is all about.
So, the crucial point here is that you've got to pick the right tool for the job. You wouldn't use a hammer to saw a board, right? Same idea. You use a line chart for trends over time, a bar chart for comparing things, a pie chart for parts of a whole, and a scatter plot to see if two things are related. The story your data is trying to tell you, well, that dictates the chart you use.
Okay, so if a single chart answers a single question, what happens when you need to answer dozens of them all at once? Well, that's when we level up from individual charts to a unified command center, the dashboard.
And here is the golden rule. You have to remember this. One dashboard does not fit all. It can't. The information a CEO needs to see is just noise and clutter for a dispatcher on the ground. A good dashboard system has to be tailored to the management level.
So at the very top, you've got the strategic dashboard. This is for the C-suite. It's the 3,000-foot view, focused on huge, big-picture goals like total costs and key performance indicators like on-time, in-full delivery, or OTIF. It's usually updated daily, or maybe even just weekly.
Then you drop down a level to middle management, and you get the tactical dashboard. This is all about finding problems, spotting bottlenecks. It tracks more detailed stuff like the cost per order, how much it really costs to get one single package out the door, and it's updated several times a day. And finally, we get right down to the ground floor with the operational dashboard. This is for the people managing the here and now, the dispatchers, the supervisors. They're not looking at last week's costs. They're looking at how many trucks are in the queue right now, or the status of an urgent shipment that has to leave in the next 10 minutes. This data is live, updating every few minutes so they can make instant, on-the-spot decisions.
So you're probably wondering, what kind of tech makes all this stuff possible? Well, that's where a powerful set of tools known as Business Intelligence Systems, or BI, comes into play.
Now, it's really important to get this. A BI system isn't just another database. Think of it more like an intelligent brain, a layer that sits on top of all your existing company systems, pulling everything together.
Their greatest superpower is overcoming what people call information silos. Your warehouse system has its data, your transport system has its data, sales has theirs, and none of them talk to each other. BI fixes that. It uses a process to extract, transform, and then load that data, linking it all together to create one single unified version of the truth.
But hold on, because this technology is not standing still. Not even close. We're moving beyond just charts and dashboards and into a future that honestly sounds a bit like science fiction. Artificial intelligence and immersive, living models of the business itself.
Just take a look at this. Yesterday, a report might give you a boring list of your worst performing routes. Okay, great. But today, AI can analyze that same data and generate a plain English summary, telling you not just what happened, but why it happened. That is a total game changer.
The absolute pinnacle of this evolution is something called the digital twin. Imagine an accurate, real-time 3D copy of a real-world thing, like a massive warehouse or a busy port, that is constantly being updated with live data from thousands of sensors.
I mean, what this really means is you can have a living, breathing model of your entire operation on a single screen. You can see virtual forklifts moving in perfect sync with the real ones, watch inventory levels change in real time, and manage the whole shebang with a true bird's-eye view.
And this brings us to the ultimate takeaway from all of this. In the modern world, winning isn't about having the most resources or the most trucks. Nope. It's about who can transform that raw, messy data into the right decision faster than the competition.
Which really leaves us with one final big question to ask ourselves about our own operations. Is our data a tool we're using to create clarity, or is it still just part of the chaos?